I Don't Get It
Podcast.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the I Don't Get It podcast. This is Naz.
Ashley.
Lauren.
And we haven't been in the same room in how long?
A long time.
A month?
Like, a long time.
You guys, it's getting so hard being friends with Ashley and Lauren because it's like literally what I would imagine is like being friends with J-Lo. Someone's like, oh, how's Ashley doing? I'm like, I don't know. They're in Zimbabwe this week taking photos next to giraffes.
I couldn't
have no
imagine someone who travels more. So yeah,
no,
it's
I know.
probably like
I
J-Lo.
actually can't either. Well, just for my past couple of weeks where I went from LA to DC to Canada to St. Lucia to Boston to LA in
12 days.
Not even, Lauren. It was a Friday to a Monday. So a Friday.
So 10 days.
10 days.
This is our first podcast of 2018 where we're together.
Yeah.
Because the New Year's one, I was in Miami and you guys were home. And then, Lauren, you were home.
Yeah.
And me and Ashley
And
were
Naz
here.
and I recorded too.
Yeah. And then I was in Orlando and you guys were in St. Lucia.
So crazy.
Yeah, well.
Also, sorry my voice sounds like this, guys. I have laryngitis, so sucking too much popsicles, you know? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, we've loved the feedback that you guys gave us from last week's episode about me and Naz. Naz and me calling our crushes.
No, Naz and I.
Me calling my crush. No, so
Naz and me calling
Naz
my
and
crush.
me calling our crushes.
Naz and I calling our crushes.
That's what sounds better to me.
I know, but
because
I
that's
don't-
what's correct.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You guys let us know.
All right. No, honestly, you guys, your messages are hilarious.
I wish I could have partook in that.
I know, me too.
But I literally couldn't think of one person who didn't know I had a crush on
You're
them.
just so cool, Lauren.
I'm just so cool. I would just text them. Like, hey, you're hot.
Well, one thing we want to definitely do is get some Bachelor people on here to call their crushes. I think that would be so hilarious.
So tell us who you'd really like to have call their past.
Right. Oh, FYI,
Situations.
everyone's sending me Ghostbuster emails. Only email me your ghosting story if you're willing to confront your ghoster on the podcast. Because I love your guys' stories, but every time I email you and I'm like, okay, what's the number? You're like, no, I don't want to confront them. And I just want to let you guys know that's the whole point of the segment is to have you confront your ghoster on the podcast. So anyways, we love you guys. But today is an awesome podcast episode because there's this woman named Jen who listens to the podcast, and she's a professor, you guys. Professors listen to us.
I know, it's
Isn't
so
that
ridiculous.
crazy?
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy. And she is a communication consultant, and she emailed all three of us this really interesting email, and she's going to tell us about the stages of a relationship. Okay. Apparently, there's 5 stages when you get in a relationship and 5 stages when you're on your way out of one.
Oh, stop.
Yes.
This is fascinating.
Yes.
So we both went back and forth with her, but I didn't know these specifics. That's great.
Yeah, they're so dope. And a couple of you guys actually sent me questions that I'm going to ask her after she's done explaining all of them.
Yeah, and she's been a podcast listener, so she said that there's some questions that we've pondered that she has professional theories to. So
interesting
excited to get that. Okay, we're going to get Jen on the phone now.
Let's call up Jen. All right, guys, we got Jen on the line, and she is a professor at what university, Jen?
I'm at Fullerton College and at Chaffey College out here in Southern California.
Ooh,
Awesome.
go SoCal. And Jen, can you just tell us and everyone a little bit about what you do? You're a communication consultant, right?
Absolutely, yes. So first and foremost, I'm a professor of communication studies. This is my 16th year. I absolutely love my job. So like I said, I teach at those 2 colleges out here in Southern California. And then I also teach at the California Institute for Women, and that is a local prison out here in California. And then my other job is communication consulting, which is basically I go into businesses. If they need help with communication, I got them.
Wow, sounds awesome.
So we know that you're an I Don't Get It listener. How did you find out about us?
I am an I Don't Get It listener. I'm a huge Bachelor fan.
Thank
you. Yes. So been listening to the podcast since the beginning.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Jen, as a Bachelor watcher and as an I Don't Get It listener. What are my issues with communication?
That's a good question.
Was that Ashley?
Yes.
You know what? I love how vulnerable and honest you are. I think that's fantastic. I don't know if you have issues with communication. I think actually all 3 of you, I love actually how much you communicate.
Thank you so
and
much.
I think that's kind of a lost art in our world. I don't know if you guys agree, but
Yeah, we're
I
trying to
think
bring
people,
that back.
We
yeah,
definitely
tend to put up friends, whether it be on social media or on face-to-face communication, which unfortunately, even face-to-face communication, in my opinion, is really lacking these days. And that's one of my goals with my students, is really focusing on how can we be better face-to-face communicators, along with, you know, communicators on social media or those other mediums that we're communicating on.
Right. Well, Jen, we are so excited because you emailed all three of us previously about this. But what we think is most interesting and what we want you to tell us and our listeners to hear are what are the 5 stages of getting into a relationship and the 5 stages of getting out of one. So if someone has a crush on someone, they know like what stage they're in. And if someone is scared that they're about to get broken up with, maybe we can give them a heads up of like what those signs are.
Love it. Okay, so we're going to be going over NAP stages of relational development. This is something my students love to talk about. I love to talk about it. I find it fascinating and interesting. So we're going to go over 5 stages of coming together and then 5 stages of coming apart. Now, when Knapp came up with with this theory, he basically said these stages should be done in order for the most effective relationship. And you guys, if you have any questions, comments, just chime in at like any time. I want it to be interactive.
Okay, we will.
Okay, good. So the very first stage is called initiating. And so this one, like all these, the names kind of basically tell you what they are. But initiating, you show you're interested in someone, you make contact with them. It can be in person or it can be on social media or online. And it's a very quick stage. The biggest part of this stage would be physical attraction. So unfortunately, if the physical attraction is not there, you probably won't progress past this stage. And have you guys found that in your kind of
love
relationship?
that you just said that because, you know, I'm on the apps now and I'm swiping. And it's funny because this was some guy that I used to date. I wasn't necessarily physically attracted to his picture, but I really liked his personality. But now I'm finding out that I really just don't want to swipe on anyone that I wouldn't get in bed with, to be honest.
Yeah, and that is extremely common. And that's unfortunately one of the downfalls, in my opinion, in dating that way. Now, I actually met my husband on Match.com 16 years ago.
Oh, wow.
But
Match was around 16 years ago?
No, I mean, it was the very beginning stage.
It was the very beginning, and it was super taboo. So, like, dating online was super taboo. So when we would introduce ourselves to people, we would say we met at a bar, just to like
funny.
not make it weird.
My boyfriend still lies about the whole Tinder situation that we met on.
Really?
He still lies. Yes.
I know. I feel like it should be better nowadays. But
with the physical attraction thing, I watch Married at First Sight. It's like my favorite show.
Yes,
And I guess
yes.
that kind of is like a lot of people aren't attracted to the person they're matched up with, but then after time they come to be obsessed with them. So is that like, that's just a little bit of the time it happens?
Yeah, so I was going to say, is this more of like a modern era thing because people are meeting so much digitally and not so much in person where there's a different kind of chemical reaction as far as attraction goes?
Yes, absolutely. So, and that's just, it's huge. Like physical attraction is huge in the initiation stage. Oh, and I forgot to say this, you guys, but this is for romantic relationships, but
Right.
this model works for friendships as well. Like this.
Interesting.
Yeah. So when you initiate with a
That's
friend,
how I became friends with Lauren and Ashley.
I was going to say, that's why Naz and I are friends.
I was like, you're pretty.
Right?
No uglies.
Oh, great.
I love your lipstick. Like, yeah.
Oh my God, that
So-
is how we
That's
met.
actually how we met. I was
Wow,
like, are
she
you wearing
listens.
Ruby Woo?
That's so funny.
Exactly. So it's just like clothing or lipstick or hair or whatever. But so initiating, then you move on to the next stage. Well, you can end it there, obviously. You can end it and be like, no thanks. But then you move on to the next stage, which is called experimenting. And this stage is the small talk. It's the questioning. It's kind of where you experiment. And this stage can be quick for some people or last several dates, depending on how much you want to experiment. Now, if you have what I call the list, I think we all kind of have like a list of things that we want in someone or we don't want. The longer the list, the harder it is to get past experimenting. So if, for example, my list was kind of long when I was in the dating stages. And so I didn't get past experimenting very often because I'd be like, nope, like you didn't check that off my list, or that was one of my deal breakers. So I don't know if you guys do that too. Like you can't get past experimenting because of your lists or whatever.
Well, is it possible to be in the experimenting stage for years? Just asking for my big. Just asking for my friend. Asking for my big.
To be honest, in this model, no. Experimenting usually doesn't last longer than, I would say, maybe, well, let's just put it dates wise. It's not going to be more than probably four dates.
Okay.
It's usually pretty quick because then you're like figuring out either you want to continue on or you don't.
Okay, so this is when you figure out, like, I want to hang out with this person more or not.
Yes. And I don't know if you remember, I want to say the guys were on a podcast. I think it was Wells, Jared, and Cupcake maybe. And they were talking about, was it them that were talking about the brunch dates?
Yeah, the lunch dates, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that is brilliant for this particular stage because you really can experiment, right? Like, that's a great time to just have the experimenting stage happen versus going to a movie where you don't really get to experiment that much, etc. So I think that was good advice that those guys gave.
We need to get them back on, or at least like another group of guys, because that was such a favorite episode of mine and the audience.
Well, I think we need 8 microphones and we should all be on it together.
I think that would be really interesting.
I think that would be hilarious.
That would be amazing, kind of back and forth. Right. And the last thing I want to say about experimenting, guys, is I'm kind of big on no one-night stands if you're looking for kind of a serious relationship, because what a one-night stand says is that I'm jumping stages. So does that make sense?
Yes.
Right.
All right, hold on, guys. I just want to stop for a second and talk to you guys about Beachbody On Demand because it is my jam. It is an online fitness streaming service, and it gives you unlimited access to a wide variety of highly effective world-class workouts. And guys, it's just so easy. Like, they also have extensive nutritional content, and it's proven to help people achieve their health and fitness goals. It's definitely helped me with mine. I personally hate my arms, and there's so many great arm workouts on there, and there's like unlimited amount of workouts. They have this one called 21 Day Fix, which I personally love. And if you like yoga, they have this 3-week like yoga retreat also on there, which is really, really cool. And they have over 1 million members. So if that doesn't prove to you guys that this shit works, then I don't know what will. It's amazing. So today, our listeners can claim a free trial membership. All the I Don't Get It listeners will get it. And all you have to do, this is so easy, is take out your phone and text GET IT, GETIT, to 303030. Again, that's GET IT, GETIT, all caps together, to 303030, and you'll get full access to this entire platform for free.
I have one more question about experimenting phases.
Yes.
Do you find that millennials stay in this phase longer than other generations?
It's a great question, Ashley Iaconetti.
I do.
You know what? I actually don't know.
Because men are waiting so much longer to get married now. Like when we had Cupcake on the podcast. So maybe these men, want to keep you around and experiment because they're experimenting with the other 1 million fish in the sea.
Gotcha. So they're doing multiple experiments and finding out.
They're like mad scientists.
They're scientists.
They're mad scientists. No, that makes so much sense. I'm going to have to talk to that. I'm going to have to talk to my students about that because they're in that group. So that is like a great point.
Well, I guess this will all depend on what the next stage is because we don't know what it is yet.
And before we move on, and I'm so annoying, I'm so sorry. I keep coming up with different questions, but I use the Aziz Ansari Modern Romance book as like the Bible on millennial love.
What a bummer about this whole sexual harassment.
It's like a whole other conversation. So let's just pretend Aziz is just fine and not under scrutiny right now. He talks about how, even 100 years ago, if even that, people were like marrying people within a mile of their house, and like people's lists were a lot shorter. It was more of like everything was practical, like is this a provider? Is this somebody who I can actually have kids with? All of that stuff is like there were like semi attraction there, but now our lists grow so much longer because our ability to reach so many more people is there.
Yes. Absolutely.
Which is why I would assume that the millennial experimentation
Yeah.
phase is
And
is
you wait longer because your husband could be in, Italy, Canada. Like, you don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I think, and to Ashley's point, and I think that's a fantastic point, is with things changing so much nowadays, you can experiment longer because there's so many other people out there. Right. It's not like, okay, like I better just make this experimenting thing work so I can move to the next stage because I don't know if there's another guy in the next 14 miles or whatever. So I think that's a great point.
So what's the next stage, though?
Okay, so the next stage is called intensifying, and this is the best stage of relationships. In friendships and in romantic relationships. It's also known as the euphoric stage. It is just the best.
It
like
is.
You are.
I know exactly what
right?
you're talking about.
You're spending so much time together. You see each other all the time. You have, if it's romantic, you probably have like really heightened physical intimacy. Get yourself some of that Astroglide, whatever.
How'd you know they were a sponsor?
I listen to the podcast. Yeah.
Which, by the way, is fantastic.
Astroglide.
Well, there you go. If you're intensifying, you might need it. So, then if you have like friendships or things of that nature, you would have like really strong emotional intimacy, or what we call intellectual intimacy, like sharing ideas all the time, getting excited about sharing ideas about your goals, about your life, and all these things. And so this is all intensifying. Okay. So how long do you guys think? Just from your experience, and there's no right or wrong answer. We just have like
3
studies
months.
and whatnot.
3 months.
Oh, wait, let's go around the table here.
Okay, go around.
Don't look at me.
I said 3 months. 2 to 3 months.
Well, I thought I heard that euphoric stage can last a year to 2.
I have no idea.
I thought it was 2 years until it settles down.
Actually, that one serious relationship I did have, I would say intensifying lasted like 3 months.
Okay, what's the right answer?
So wait, Lauren said 3, Naz said 3.
Ashley said a year.
I said it could be up to 2 years.
Okay, so the most common amount of time is 6 months.
Okay.
And the reason, do you guys have any ideas as to why it lasts around 6 months? What do you think happens kind of after that?
I do.
What, Ashley? She literally
Ashley
physically raised her hand.
I
took a class in college called the psychology of intimate relationships. So I feel like I maybe had
You're such a jerk.
So isn't there a time, and I also read too much Cosmopolitan.
That's what it is.
I think biologically our bodies have to readjust, because if we live in that heightened state of like oxytocin for too long, that we don't become like people who can like go out and work and do things like that. Like, so biologically we need to settle down.
And don't your cells biologically change every 6 months too? Aren't you like a different?
No, that's like every 10 years.
Oh my gosh, I have no idea about cells changing every 6 months, but you know what Ashley is saying is true. You can only sustain kind of that euphoric, heightened thing for so long, because then you have like a new norm now. Your body has like a new norm. So that's part of it. Part number 2 would be that for the most part, we are our best self in the first, 3 to 6 months. Mm-hmm. So it can
that's
really
why
only
everything
last
goes
so
downhill after.
Yep.
It can really only last so long before you really start to feel, and it's not even a bad thing, but it's a new comfortable. Yeah. You get to that really comfortable stage where you feel just really comfortable with the person.
Lauren, I feel like you can speak to this well.
At 6 months exactly, it was like my 6 month anniversary, whatever, with my boyfriend. I was like, something's wrong. Like, something is different.
I remember Lauren telling me. Lauren had like a meltdown. She's like, I don't know. She's like, I don't know. We were so much more excited around each other.
Yeah.
And that's exactly.
And then
what
we just got
was.
comfortable, and it's actually better, probably.
Right. And that's what a lot of people say. There's this fear of leaving the intensifying stage. And that's actually unfortunately, why a lot of people break up, because they're like, I can't not have this feeling. And so I'm going to seek it somewhere else.
Oh my God. I was with, what's his name?
Yeah,
6 months.
Yeah.
He's intensifying with another broad out there.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like scary to leave it. But like what Lauren was saying, ultimately it ends up really being better. And it doesn't mean you can't still have intensifying moments, because we have those in our relationships, even long-term ones. But that whole stage is over. So like I said, you can terminate after intensifying, or you can move on to the next stage, which is called integrating. And integrating is you guys are like almost like a social unit. People know you together. And again, this happens in friendships. I really think you three guys are probably integrated. When you say you guys are integrated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You guys are integrated. Lauren, you and Jack are probably in this stage, I would guess, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And I would even say Ashley and Jared, you guys are integrated as a friendship because you're comfortable. You're like, you know, people know you as a social unit. So anytime you know a couple as a social unit, or, you know, you're just kind of super comfortable and you're in that stage. Integrating, this one can last for a very long time. You know, years at a time, if that's how your relationship is, before you may or may not move to the next stage. Do you guys have any questions about integrating?
No, but I just kind of had like a realization moment of my life, and I've never made it past intensifying, which is like interesting to know.
Just by friendship.
Well,
I'm sorry, a relationship, and a romantic relationship, I've never made it past intensifying. I've always wanted.
Then neither have I.
I've always wanted to be integrated, and it's never. Yeah. So it's kind of cool to know the stage.
Yeah.
Anyway.
As far as the intensifying one goes, you say that it's like a frenzy of positive, like, ecstasy hormones, I think. But can it also be, like, channeled through anxiety?
You mean, are you thinking about me, like, flipping out?
I'm thinking about you flipping out. I'm thinking about, like, a lot of the times,
Me
like,
flipping out.
we almost, in part of us, while we're so nervous and we're so scared that, like, it's going to end, we could also kind of get a weird high off of it.
Right.
Absolutely. This is also a stage where you see so many people, because there's a heightened level of self-disclosure in this stage as well. So disclosing about yourself, talking about yourself. So of course that produces anxiety. There's a lot of, oh my gosh, is this person liking my social media? Because you're in that stage.
I live in intensifying. Like I literally get my mail sent to the stage. That is where I reside.
Intensifying.
So what's the
and then
fifth
5
one?
is forever, dying together.
Yeah, 5 is called bonding. So bonding is usually characterized by some kind of public ritual, like a wedding, or with friendships, it's just like, hey, we're exclusive. We're going to be friends forever. You know, like slit your hand and do the wolf pack thing or whatever. So some kind of bonding.
Ashley, Lauren, are we going to be friends forever?
We can do the wolf pack.
We could definitely do that.
Oh, 3-man wolf pack.
Yeah. And you know what? You guys might be in bonding. To be honest with you, if you feel that way, we're going to do stages of coming apart. So does it mean like, well, I would hope you guys are friends forever. But I'm just saying people have bonded and fell out of bonding as well.
Let me just say,
I guess I can say
the
that.
next 5 steps when you tell us where the relationship crumbles, I'm going to be looking for all of these, and I'm going to make them up in my head, and I'm going to lose my mind.
Well, before
don't.
Lauren loses her shit, did you have a question, Ashley? Because I have a screenshot from a couple questions of our listeners that I want to ask about this stage before we move on.
Okay, well, yes, I was going to say it's interesting because it's funny how you can have people in your life that you're like, oh, we're going to be friends for life, like, no doubt. But then you're not, and it's not like you had a falling out. So I guess you can be in that bonding phase forever. I think that once you like get into your 20s, if you find a best friend in your 20s, those usually last for a lifetime. But the ones like from high school,
absolutely. Yeah. And this is something I talk about with my students, and we actually usually take like a class poll. How many of you guys lost a best friend that you had when you were a kid due to just growing apart? I think we kind of change a little bit from 20 to 25. And so like when you make friends with someone as a kid, you're making friends because of similarities, like the same music. And then as you get older, sometimes you grow apart.
I think it's more lifestyle. It's more interest as a kid and then more lifestyle as an adult.
Absolutely. Yep.
So my question to you is from a listener named Haley. Hi, Haley. And Haley is, I don't know what stage she's in, but I'm just going to read you all the questions, and then I'm sure you can have like a summation answer. But she really likes this guy, and she asked, at what stage in a relationship is it appropriate to say the words, I love you? Can you put a time restraint on something like that? Do you feel that some people wait too long or say it too soon? Can dropping the L word be the demise of a relationship? And how long is too long? Should I tell him I love him, or do you think the guy should be the one to drop the L word first? So since you're a communication consultant and you know all these stages, what do you think Haley should do, Jen?
Well, I would avoid saying I love you, well, in the initiating, obviously, or in the experimenting. This is going to blow your mind, but I had a guy, I was dating him for 1 week, and on our 1 week anniversary, we met at a park for a picnic, and he had like a poster board draped over his shirt, and it said, his name is Mario. Super Mario loves you. Happy 1 week anniversary.
Shut
And
the
then you
door.
broke up with him immediately.
I did. I was like, and that's.
She got on her Mario Kart and tripped over
did.
some banana peels, and she's like, I'm getting the
Oh
fuck
my
out of
God,
here.
that's literally the initiation stage.
No, that's
That's like the first
we were-
step
we were
of your
experimenting.
No, that is
experimenting.
making of a murder, you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, Naz, for putting
crazy.
that very concisely. Wow.
No, that's exactly right. And so, obviously, the first two stages we're avoiding saying "I love you." I caution people to say it in intensifying only because there might be something else speaking. It might be kind of those endorphins speaking. It might be these feelings of lust rather than feelings of love. So that's going to be, 3 to 6 months in. So, some people say, oh my gosh, that seems so long. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I would say
6
that
months?
normally I would say it'd be around the 3-4 month period.
No, but see,
Right.
I think based off these stages now
But
that
that
we're
you should
educated,
wait until 6.
You should wait till you're integrated and people know that you're together, and that seems like a very safe place to say
I
the
think
word.
like right when you're being integrated, that's
Yeah.
when I think you would.
So
do
then,
it.
what is that? 7 months,
Yeah. about
Yeah.
that.
Jen?
Yeah, it depends for every couple, but I think around 6 to 7 months for my husband and I was, you guys, I was holding out waiting for him to say it first. It was 9 months and I wanted to die waiting that long. Like it was ridiculous.
That feels. I feel you.
I also just want to say to everyone listening, obviously this is an average, right, Jen? Because I know a lot of you are going to be like, well, I met my husband after a week and we got married and everything's amazing. And I think that totally can happen. I think we're just speaking for the average.
Yeah, I mean, we're from Bachelor Nation. We
I
know
was
it
just
happens
gonna
quick.
say.
We know we say I love you.
I'm obsessed with the show that like puts together people super quickly.
Yeah.
We just saw like
Aw.
Evan and Carly and all this. So yes, these stages are more of just kind of a guideline that works for most, but not for all. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
so Haley should say I love you in the integrating stage.
I mean, for my personal non-clinical professional opinion, I think she should wait for the guy to say it.
I think so too.
Because
I think so too, but I know these days with like, I don't know,
With feminism
and all
and-
this stuff, like I know
Yeah.
that's not the correct answer, but that's just my opinion.
Don't you feel like it has to do with a hunting psychology with them?
Yes.
Is like I think there's a psychology where they
I
should
teach
even
gender
be saying it
studies
first.
too, and it
Yeah.
absolutely is a hunter thing. Yes.
Right. All right, Haley. Well, hopefully that answers your question. All right, on to the very anxiety-inducing stages of ending a relationship that I am very proficient in.
Yeah, so please
On to my
don't
stages.
overanalyze any of your relationships or friendships. Listeners, you guys too, don't freak out. But it's good to know these stages, and it's also good to be aware if you're the one that's in this stage with someone so that you can have those conversations with them if you need to. So stage 1 is called differentiating. And differentiating is the very first stage of coming apart. And it's just slight feelings of stress. You just start to experience this kind of feelings of stress in the relationship. And I would say one of the biggest indicators of this stage would be if you focus on I rather than we. Does that make sense?
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. So you're more interested in like, what can I do rather than like say we have plans. You're like, you know what? I don't really want to do that. Why don't you go ahead and go and I'll just stay home. Okay. So that's kind of differentiating. You're starting to feel a little bit of stress in the relationship.
Or the other person is.
Right. Or the other person. It could go either way. And sometimes with all of these coming apart stages,
It's mutual.
you may not even know the other person is feeling this way until a little bit later. So they could be differentiating and you're like, I have no idea you were feeling stress in the relationship. So there's that to keep in mind too. And also, you can experience differentiating and go right back to bonding or go right back to integrating.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that's important
these
to
are
say. Yeah, like there's highs and lows
Yes.
in every relationship.
Absolutely. I can honestly say in my marriage, I've differentiated and we're fine. We're like, yes, very much in love. So yes. Okay. So then you can, and then people always ask, my students ask, how long will it last? And I'm like, I don't know. It totally depends. Everything depends on the context of your relationship. So differentiating can last a very short time, like literally a week or a long time. So just depends.
All right.
If you move, do you guys have any questions on that one?
I don't
No,
think
it's
so.
pretty cut and
Okay.
dry right there.
Okay, so then you can move on if you do choose to move on to the next stage of coming apart. It's called circumscribing. And circumscribing, if you
So mature.
no, not mature thing.
I know.
Circumscribe, to put a circle around something. So think of claustrophobic. This is a stage where you feel a little bit claustrophobic in the relationship. And because you're feeling this sense of claustrophobia, you're probably going to kind of constrict your self-disclosure or how much you talk about yourself because you're feeling like a little overwhelmed in the relationship. And you might constrict a little bit of your shared activities because you're feeling a little bit claustrophobic. So,
So more of like just trying to get away from them.
yeah, not to the, I mean, we're not down to stage 4 yet.
Okay.
So you're not that bad, but you're just feeling senses of claustrophobia.
Like you get overwhelmed
this-
by the idea of being around them.
Yeah, like a little bit. Like if you were stuck in a 4-hour car ride to Vegas, you might be a little bit like annoyed. Whereas if you're in intensifying, you're like, yes, 4 hours in the car.
Got it.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like that type of thing.
So what it sounds like this is coming from the perspective of the person who's like getting over the relationship.
But no, you just gotta flip it.
What's happening to the person on the other side? They're freaking out. They're not feeling claustrophobic. They're feeling like they need to like
Well,
be clean.
clearly, she's giving us the perspective of signs to telling her partner that may be looking to break up.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
So if you feel like, so if you feel like they feel claustrophobic, then you're like, uh-oh, then maybe they're
Exactly.
in the circumscribing and we should have a conversation.
Maybe for Ashley, say it from the other perspective.
Yeah.
I know because like I'm not relating anymore.
I know.
Yeah. So for all of us listening, let's say it from the single desperate girl's perspective. I'm just kidding. We're not desperate.
No.
I'm just
So
kidding.
the next stage is called stagnating. And if I'm the person that feels stagnating, think of stagnant water, guys. So picture that in your head. It's not moving, right? It's not going anywhere. So if you're the person that's feeling this stage, you feel like it's not going anywhere. If you're the Ashley person in the relationship, you feel like the other person is almost a hollow shell of the former person. So
You're like, I don't
remember
even know you anymore.
remember stage 3 and coming together was intensifying? This is like the opposite of that. You start to close yourself off from the other person. So if you're the person that's feeling this stagnating, you're like, oh my gosh, they're closing themselves off from me. Why are they doing that? Like, what is going on?
Yes, I'm very familiar with this stage.
That's like
this
the
stage,
feeling of ghosting, kind of.
right?
We're almost to that ghosting stage, and it is. I'll tell you what, stagnating is a terrible feeling. Either side of it, really.
I was just going to say, I feel like this is the worst stage
Yeah.
ever because you're just like losing something that you want and you don't understand why.
This is
and
making me sad.
I think this is that time. It's that time where even a lot of people that come to Heartbroken Anonymous and myself, it's when you ask yourself, what went wrong? What changed?
Yes. What changed? And I think that is such a great point, Naz, is stagnating is what changed because you're not moving anymore. So what changed? But if you're starting to feel those feelings, like that's a good time, once again, have that conversation. I'll give you some tips what I'm talking about when I say have a conversation when I go through the stages. So the next stage is avoidance, and that's our ghosting stage, right? Avoidance. So you avoid the person. If you live together or if you are in a friendship where you see that person on a regular basis, you're still like physically distancing yourself from each other. Kind of, I don't know if this makes sense, but superficial politeness. Like,
Yeah. Totally.
Yes.
yeah. There was a movie. Oh gosh, what is it called? Ashley, you'll probably know. It has Justin Timberlake and Mila Kunis, and they're like
Friends with benefits.
Friends with benefits. And there's a great scene where she just keeps like ignoring his calls. That is the avoiding stage. Like that's exactly what it looks like. So they haven't broken up or ended their relationship, but she's just not interested. So
my new favorite term is superficial politeness.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's just this kind of going through the motions, not really wanting to be there. So you'll know if you're the one in this stage if you receive a text message from your significant other and you're like, nope, no thanks. Like, I don't want to answer that. And if you're on the other end of it, you're going to just feel avoided. You're going to feel like someone's avoiding you.
Okay, this is like the awkward tiptoeing around, like walking on, not broken eggshells.
Walking on eggshells.
Okay, walking on. Eggshells.
But yes, this is ghosting. This is Ghostbusters.
This is ghosting, except with those rare exceptions. Because that first caller for your first ghost busting, I was like, oh, this is not necessarily this coming apart stage. I don't know. I feel like
he was just reclusive.
Right, exactly. Right. So, again, you kind of have to figure out really what's behind the avoidance. But I would say 9 out of 10 times it's because they're in the stages of coming apart.
All right. I know this is very, very important information for all of us who want to be in a relationship or are in a relationship. However, need to take a moment for our sponsor, BioClarity. You guys, it's a new year. Start a new healthy habit. This skincare routine is going to help you boost your confidence. It's helped me so much. Before I started using it, I used to have dry, irritated skin because I used to use this stuff, that was made for acne, people who are acne prone. But that benzoyl peroxide can really break your skin down and make you dry and irritated. But BioClarity doesn't. It delivers clear, glowing skin and reduces redness and boosts my natural beauty. I use it twice a day without worrying about any excess irritation. It's packed with botanicals and new Floralux, which won't irritate your skin. Floralux is an ingredient derived by chlorophyll. Yeah, the green stuff in plants. So it's clean, it's green, and it's never mean to your skin. Just go to bioclarity.com and our listeners will get their first month for only $9.95 plus free shipping. It's a $20 savings and it comes with a 100% risk-free money-back guarantee. But you need to enter our code, which is GETIT, GETIT. So head over to bioclarity.com, enter our code GETIT, and we want to hear everything about your skin after you start using this for a couple weeks. Is it more calm? Is it less red? Are your pores smaller? Do you have less breakouts? Let us know. Tweet me at Ashley Ico. We love your feedback on all of our sponsors.
So what's the last stage and then how do we stop them?
Okay, so the last stage is called terminating. How appropriate, right? Terminating, and that just means, the relationship ends. It can be short or it can be drawn out, just depending on the nature of the relationship. Can you terminate and go back together, terminate and go back together? Yup, and a lot of people do. And there's lots of ways to terminate. I mean, you could totally burger sticky note it to someone, or you could text it, you could face to face. I always say be courteous face to face, but that's not always the modern thing to do. So.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, that was actually leading into my next question that doesn't necessarily have to do with the stages, but you did mention at the top of the podcast that we are limiting our face-to-face communication. So what can millennials specifically do to get around that affecting relationships?
FaceTiming.
Well, I mean, it's something that I tell my students. I actually have them do this experiment where they go with no technology for 24 hours. Mm-hmm. They have to actually chart their technology first. So chart it first and see how you do it, and then go without it. They dread it. They dread this assignment. And then all of them love it after they've done it.
How do they not cheat?
Well,
they
that's
just go
like
on
the
their
Bachelor.
phone when they go home.
So, of course, when they take our phones away during the Bachelor, at the first, it gets better and better each time for some reason. But the first time they do, you keep reaching for it for like 24 hours. You're like, oh, where's my phone? It's in the sheets. It's like, no, it's gone. And then a couple of days later, you're used to it and you start liking it. But when you do the show 4 times like me, you know how like good it is for your soul and brain. So you're like, oh, you want my phone? Here it is.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good because you know you're going to grow and you're going to communicate so much better without it.
But I also feel like that's why they move through nap stages successfully and quickly.
Right.
Because they're totally mindful and present because you kind of, well, I mean, there's some distractions, but it's not like what we have with
It's
cell phones.
absolutely why. I mean, it's everyone, not everyone, people that knock on the show. I personally get so offended and frustrated because, and I've said this before on the podcast, is this day and age, you get a dossier on someone from a dating app. You can Google anyone's name, you know, who they're friends with, how much money they make, where they live. And on the show, someone walks out of a limo and you don't know anything about them. And your phone's taken away and you're literally dedicating a part of your life, up to 2 months of your life, to get to know people.
Right.
Which, like, unfortunately, we don't have that luxury in the real world. But,
And-
like, what if we did? That would be amazing.
Yeah, and we can't skirt around issues. If you're having a problem or you're like not feeling it or you are feeling it, you're really encouraged to, you have to address it. You can't just be like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to
Or
avoid.
ghost.
You can't avoid.
You
Yeah.
can't ghost.
Let me ask you a question. Going back to, like, I guess the differentiating, like, your boyfriend is trying to do things without you. Like, what is the best way to fix that and go back to, like, the romantic stages?
Yeah, how
Awesome.
can we
So-
reverse all of these?
Yes. So to kind of help with if someone is feeling any of these stages, what you're going to want to do is something that we call perception checking. And a perception check has 3 stages. So the first stage is a description of some kind of behavior you're noticing. So you're going to describe to them, hey, it seems like you're kind of more focused on yourself than of us. Step 2, give at least one interpretation of why. I always say 2 because then they have a choice. So, hey, it seems like you're more focused on yourself than us. Is it because you're upset with me, or is it because work is really hard on you right now? And then, and then step 3 is then obviously requests for clarification. So, then they can say, you know what, actually, I am a little bit upset with you. This has been frustrating me in our relationship. Or, no, it's my work, and I'm really sorry that I'm taking it out on you. Or they can say neither of those things and just whatever it really is. So I love perception checking. I think we should totally be doing it in any scenario, whether it be friendships or romantic relationships or even family members. You know, if someone does something that's weird to you and just kicks off your spidey sense, totally do a perception check. Can't hurt.
I have a question about intensifying. Do you have any advice? Ashley brought up the fact that sometimes in intensifying, not only is it very exciting and you have feelings of euphoria, but on the reverse side of that plate, you can also have very intense feelings of anxiety and not being yourself and putting a lot of pressure on what are we in order to move on to the integrating stage, which I think I've definitely done in the past. Do you have any advice for people like me?
Yeah, knock it off. No,
But like, you know, are there like tactics or like, you know, techniques?
Yeah, well, you know, I always say find the root of your struggles. So what's like the root of your anxiety? Is it you're worried that he's going to leave you? Are you worried he's going to not like you for XYZ? So first of all, figure out the root of your struggles and then see if you can, you know, cut the root out, like figure out how to get rid of it. You kind of have to figure out what's causing the anxiety.
Right. I think for me, it's like past experience, you know,
Yes.
it's like that fear of like, you know, if someone threw you off a cliff at that stage every time. So then I get really scared. I'm like, oh, this is where I get thrown off. And then I become less of Naz, which I think definitely hurts. But I think because I'm so self-aware of this and through therapy with Dr. Mike, I'm definitely getting better.
Yes, Dr. Mike, talk about it for sure.
He is the best.
You've really pinpointed your struggles and you know what's going on. It's just like, now how do I stop like the terrible stomach ache I
to
get?
find someone to apply it to. All the lessons.
Exactly.
Yes, apply the lessons and focus on that particular relationship. I really had to do this with my husband because my big, which was kind of a bad big situation, he cheated on me multiple times, kept going back, kept cheating on me. So I just right off the bat didn't trust my husband. Gave me no reason not to trust him, but just didn't because of my past. And I had to remember, look, focus on this guy. So now just try to focus on whatever guy is in front of you and hopefully, like, you know.
Right. Give them the benefit of the doubt and a clean slate.
Yes.
Absolutely. I think Ashley's right. I definitely know all of this now. It's just a matter of like finding someone to like, you know, practice it with.
And I think like the
practice.
If I may allow myself, the person that she's like currently thinking of, she's probably already too far down the rabbit hole since she's known him before all of this knowledge.
I actually wasn't thinking about him.
No?
I was thinking of like my next new person.
Oh, well,
Ashley's referring to my big. Which I told you, I don't think I'm ending up with my big.
I
you
still think she's
I
ending
am.
up with him.
I do not think
Time
that.
will tell.
Exactly. Whatever is meant to be is meant to be. I really believe that.
I think we have to go back to that question. You talked about how you had the technology detox, but I don't think we finished that thought.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, let me finish the thought. So I would just say when you are in those relationships, and especially the romantic ones where you're trying to get through the stages, maybe try to do some of small detoxing in the moment. So that means no cell phones while you're eating or on the date, or put them away or leave them in the car and just see how it goes. Talk about it openly. You know, I really want this relationship to work. I really like you, but I really value face-to-face communication. To me, that channel, that medium of communication is really important. Can we like put our cell phones away?
I have a great question.
Oh man,
People have different preferences when it comes to communicating via technology.
Yes.
Like Naz and Lauren both love to be texted all day long about just random things, about mundane things, just like as long as they're showing interest throughout the day. I, however, no problemo with like a few texts here or there and then like a nice FaceTime or like a 15-20 minute call at the end of the day.
but do you mean every day? Because
I mean every day.
Okay, then you're the same as me.
Really?
Yeah, because a few texts and FaceTime a day is exactly what you just said. Mundane. How are you? How are you?
Okay.
So the thing that Ashley and I differentiate on, I thought, was that I want to hear from the person every day, but you didn't care to hear from them every day.
I think this was in reference to like a big situation where it's like somebody who's not in your daily life. Like I'm pretty satisfied like to hear from him every now and then.
But in a relationship, don't you want to hear?
Of course, in a relationship, you need him throughout the day.
That's
but
what we're talking about.
Okay, no. Let's clarify. Lauren needs to hear from him once an hour.
No, every 2 hours.
Every 2 hours.
It's a little crazy.
But I wouldn't flip unless it was like getting to like I haven't heard from him in like 5 hours.
I'm literally fine if I get a morning and a night text.
Okay,
if I know
morning
that
and
you're
night text.
busy at work. But if I don't hear from you in the morning, or if I don't hear from you till like 6, I don't know. I'm like,
Yeah.
Okay.
A morning text is really what's most
All
important
of this
to
is
me.
leading to my question: how much of how important is it for people to be dating somebody of a similar communication style?
I think more important than that is just setting up expectations.
Yes.
So
I am so mature now.
it's like you have the conversation in the beginning, right? And you're like, this is what I want.
Yes. This is kind of what I would like to see in the relationship. What would you like to see? What would make you comfortable? And then you can kind of collaborate from there, negotiate from there. Because obviously if you're on both ends of the spectrum, you're like every minute of every day and he's like, no thanks.
That's so funny. It's like you're writing a contract. It's like I would like 2 texts an hour.
It's like a
one
prenup.
FaceTime a day.
Oh my God, that would be so amazing if you had to sign those.
That's so funny.
At what point in the relationship do you have that conversation? at what stage? Is that like right in the beginning? Is that an
That's gotta be an
intensifying?
experimenting.
I would say towards the end of, well, yeah, I guess when you're ending experimenting and then entering into intensifying, because clearly you don't want to intensify with someone if they're just not going to
Give
be
you
the
a-
right, like, yeah, communication partner for you. Like if that's something that's really important for you, that then probably not, because you're just going to be anxious the entire relationship. You're just going to be having anxiety.
That's Lauren. That's Lauren with certain people in her past. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well, any other questions, guys?
I feel like I do.
Can I give you guys one more thing?
Yeah.
Of course.
And that is, if you want to kind of take the pulse of any relationship, I have 4 questions to just kind of ponder.
All right,
Okay.
write them down, Ash.
These
love
are great.
this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone listening is gonna love this.
These are not my questions. These are from Maya Angelou. She's like a poet. I'm sure you guys
yeah.
Oh my God! Wow.
Yeah.
Maya Angelou was more than a poet then.
Yes. So here are the 4 questions for you to ponder. Ready?
Yes.
Number 1, do you see me?
Okay.
Number 2, do you care that I'm here?
Okay.
Number 3, am I enough for you, or do you need me to be better in some way?
Okay.
Okay.
And number 4, can I tell that I'm special to you by the way that you look at me?
Aw.
I like that.
So if you kind of ponder these questions with some person in mind, and you're getting a bunch of no's, do you see me? No. Do you care that I'm here? No. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's when you need to kind of figure out that relationship. You took the pulse. It's not real strong.
Wait, what was the last one? I can't write as fast.
Can
as
I
you guys.
tell that I'm special to you by the way you look at me?
By the way that you look at me.
The do you see me? Is that, can you elaborate?
I just think, like, in my opinion, do you see me is, do you really
Get me.
Get me. Yeah. Do you get me? Do you see me?
I feel like these are great questions for everyone listening to ask yourself about your big, if you have a big, because a lot of people, if
No.
if the answer is no, then maybe that's how you know if this person should be in your
It
life.
tells you a story.
Yeah, if they're worth, kind of spending time and energy on.
All right. Well, Jen, fantastic. We're definitely going to keep you in our repertoire so that we can
And our
bring
Rolodex?
Please
Rolodex.
do. Would love to come back.
Yes,
anytime.
you are a wealth of knowledge, and I'm so flattered that you knew so many things about us.
Please
and
keep
you
listening to us now that you've talked to us.
Oh my gosh, of course I will.
Okay, cool.
Love
Yeah.
you guys.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Bye, Jen.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
So
Bye.
interesting. That was really good. We learned a lot.
We learned so much. I hope you guys like
Those
that.
questions are dominant.
Yeah.
Yeah, those
that
are
was
good.
Maya Angelou, man.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah. I need a post.
What a keeper,
There's
that
gotta
one.
be a meme. I mean, we're going into Black History Month.
Yeah, whenever I see
I
quotes
love
from her,
Maya.
I go,
Who wrote that? Oh, okay, yeah.
It's just so amazing. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Please subscribe. Hit us up on socials. Let us know what you thought.
Actually, I was reading some of our reviews yesterday,
Yeah,
and
I'm
they're so
scared.
great.
Oh, okay,
They're so
good.
great. I think that when we started telling you guys to write reviews, you really started doing it. So I was like going all back to the summer, and you writing the sweetest things makes my day.
It really does.
Yeah.
I'm worried.
really
I'm
fitting.
scared to look at the reviews.
Well, yeah, because
And then
some of them are sad.
If they're
but-
okay, then I'll read them.
No, those towards the end when we got the fans writing, they've been really, really nice.
You guys are the best. We seriously talk about you and love you guys so much.
right.
All right, guys. We'll subscribe, and we will see you next week. Or hear you next week.
Bye.
Talk to you next
Bye,
week.
bye.
Bye.
I don't get it.
Podcast.